How's it going, everybody? Dr. Coin back at it again, and welcome to another episode of the rare and valuable coins in American history. Today we're going to be discussing the top 5 valuable Liberty Head nickels. The Liberty Head, or V nickels, are an American nickel that ran from the year 1883 until the year 1912. It is essentially the 5-cent counterpart of the Barber coinage series, as it was also designed by Charles E. Barber. They were only produced by the Philadelphia Mint until their last year, when they were minted in Denver and San Francisco as well. Though there are proof strikes for each of the different years for the Liberty Head nickel, they are generally less valuable than high mint state business strikes. So before we get into this and I start breaking it all down for you guys, I would really appreciate if you would hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you would like to see more coin collecting videos just like this. So at this point in the year 2021, as I'm making this video, it is extremely rare that you will ever find a Liberty Head nickel while you are coin roll hunting. You definitely have a lot higher chance if you live in the United States, but they are extremely scarce and a lot of them have been accounted for. Now, one way that you can score them is through flea markets, purchases online. Sometimes if you buy a lot of coins from, let's say, eBay or maybe from Facebook, you can actually score a few of these nickels on the side. That's how I've actually gotten a few of them in the past, is through buying lots of silver coins, and they would chuck a V nickel or two in just to spruce up the lot a little bit. And the reason I'm making this list for you guys today is not necessarily for the ones that are going to be impossible for you guys to find, but these are the ones that you may be able to actually find, whether it is through coin roll hunting, or maybe you can score one of these through cherry picking out through a lot you see on Facebook, or maybe eBay, or maybe you can find some of these at a flea market or coin shop. So usually when I'm giving you guys the maximum value for these coins, I'm referring to them being in a high mint state. So MS65, or give or take a little bit, MS64, MS66 sometimes will be the high-end value. Now, usually when you're dealing with these kind of coins with this kind of value, they're going to be graded by either PCGS or maybe NGC, and there are some of these proof strikes out there. I did mention that they aren't quite as valuable as the high mint state business strikes. So if you do want to buy some of these on the high end, I suggest you maybe look into picking up a proof strike. I'm sure they are quite beautiful as well, but it would seem that it is much harder to score yourself a very high mint state business strike. They aren't really out there, and they were probably very heavily used and heavily circulated. Now, that doesn't mean that some of them aren't extremely valuable when they are pretty beat up in a VG state, and that's what we're going to be discussing today, because some of them can score you a good bit of money even if they are pretty worn and beat up. So the first date we are going to cover is going to be 1885, so just 2 years after the V nickel started. It has an extremely low mintage of 1,476,490, and this one, even in a very low grade state, is worth a lot of money. It's worth around $600 for a VG8 example, and you can score yourself around $5,500 for an MS65 example. So now we're going to go 1 year forward to 1886. It would seem they pumped up the mintage just a little bit, but it is still extremely low, as the mintage for 1886 is 3,330,290. And because these are such low mintages, they are still very valuable in a low grade state. This one is worth $250 for a VG8 example. It can be worth $4,500 for an MS65. Next up is the year 1888, which has a mintage of 10,720,483. It has a value of $40 in a VG8 and $1,200 for an MS65 example. The 1894 is relatively low mintage as well. It is minted at 5,413,132. It is $30 for a VG8 example and $1,200 for an MS65 example of the 1894. So last up on this list is going to be a bit of a holy grail, or a unicorn as I like to call them, because this one is extremely rare and scarce, but that doesn't mean you might not be able to find it one day. It is going to be the 1912 S-Mint. So this was minted in San Francisco, and it has a mintage of 238,000. As I mentioned earlier on, 1912 was the last year that the Liberty Head nickel was minted for circulation, and they produced them at all three of the mints, San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Denver, and the San Francisco mint is by far the rarest, extremely hard to find. It is $180 for a VG8 example and $2,300 for an MS65. I also wanted to make an honorable mention that there are 5 known 1913 Liberty nickels that were struck as well. In 2010, a graded Proof 64 example of one of the 1913 nickels sold for $3,737,500, and in 2007, a Proof 66 graded example sold for $5 million. So chances are you are never going to stumble across one of these or probably even see one in your lifetime. But if you do happen to find somebody that is a fellow collector maybe, or maybe you buy a lot of nickels or you find one coin roll hunting and you happen to see that 1913 date, I definitely suggest you take it in or you send it off to an expert. If you do not pay a crazy amount of money for it, it is probably worth the investment considering these things are worth millions of dollars. You know, I feel like these American Liberty Head nickels fly under the radar a little bit in terms of their popularity. I know a lot of people like to collect half dollars, some people like to collect silver dollars. There's people out there that like to collect 3-cent pieces, but I think these Liberty Head nickels have an incredibly awesome history. There's some really good value in some of the low-grade examples for some of the key dates, and they have an awesome design as well. I think it is very iconic, and I love the V design on the reverse. It is very similar to the Canadian V nickels that we had during World War II, and it's funny that there are American V nickels and Canadian V nickels as well. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please hit that thumbs up and please subscribe if you would like to see more just like this. But other than that one, guys, until the next one, everybody, peace out and have a good one, y'all.